Welcome! This video is all about word analogies. At the end of this video, you should be able to use word analogies to describe and make a point, and use word analogies to determine the relationships and meanings of words. Writers and speakers often use different strategies to better explain to their readers or audience their thoughts. They often use comparison to help the readers visualize and understand what they are trying to say. For writers and speakers to show comparison, they make use of analogy. An analogy shows the relationship between words. It helps us learn meanings of unfamiliar words by determining the relationship between the given words. An analogy is a form of reasoning that compares one thing with another to make a point. The purpose is not just to compare but also to provide an explanation. An analogy is often written with words and colons. The phrasing for analogies is generally first word is to second word, as third word is to fourth word. The colon stands for words so that when you read it aloud, the analogy says, book is to page as hand is to finger. In this example, the relationship is between a whole and its parts. A page is part of a book, while a finger is part of a hand. There are different types of analogies or word relationships, but in this video, we shall be discussing 5 of them. These are whole to part or part to whole, item to category, object to use, synonyms, and antonyms. Let's discuss them one by one. The first type of word relationship is whole to part or part to whole relationship. A part of something is compared to the whole in a way similar to another part of something is compared to the whole. For you to better understand the concept of this word relationship, take a look at this. The whole object is a bird. Now let's choose a part of the bird, its wing. Same thing with this fish, which is the whole, and a part of it is its fin. So if we put that into writing, it reads as bird is to wing as fish is to fin. Let's have another example of whole to part relationship. Here we have a car. A part of it is its tire. The second half of the analogy is the pencil as the whole object, and its lead as its part. In writing, we have car is to tire as pencil is to lead. The first 2 examples are all whole to part relationships as the whole object was mentioned first before its part. This time, let's have part to whole example. We have here a dog, and its part is the tail. Then we have a house, and its part is a roof. Since we are doing part to whole relationship, let's start off by writing the part first. So, tail is to dog as roof is to house. We are now done with the whole to part or part to whole word relationship. This time, let's discuss the item to category word relationship. In an item to category word analogy, the word is an item in the category named by the other. For example, you have the sports equipment as your category. Just choose one item here, like the baseball. On the other hand, in office supplies category, choose the tape dispenser. For analogy, we write baseball, the item, is to sports equipment, the category. As to tape dispenser, the item, to office supplies, the category. Another example for item to category analogy is this. Here are social media, then let's choose Twitter. Another category is a musical instrument, and let's choose guitar. In writing, we have Twitter is to social media, as to guitar is to musical instrument. Last example of item to category word analogy. You have here group of gadgets and a kit for first aid as our categories. Let's choose one gadget, say a laptop, and one item in the first aid kit, a band-aid. So when we write this analogy, we have laptop is to gadget as band-aid is to first aid kit. So we are now done with 2 of the word relationships, whole to part or part to whole, and item to category. Let's now discuss object to use type of word analogy. In an object to use word analogy, the object is associated with its function or use. For example, the purpose of a camera is to take a photograph. On the other hand, the purpose of a ruler is to measure. If we write this analogy, we have camera is to photograph as ruler is to measure. For the next analogy, look at these. A saw's purpose is to cut, while a scale's purpose is to weigh. Hence, if we write out this analogy, we have saw is to cut as scale is to weigh. Last example for object to use is presented through these images. An ear's purpose is to hear, whereas a mouth's purpose is to speak. So its analogy is ear is to hear as to mouth is to speak. We are now done with the first three word relationships. I hope by this time, whole to part or part to whole, item to category, and object to use are now clear. The next word relationship is synonyms. In this type of analogy or word relationship, we compare one thing and another through words that mean the same thing. For example, the number 12 is synonymous to dozen, like a dozen of donuts. Whereas the number 3 is synonymous to a trio, like Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ronald Weasley. When we put this analogy into writing, we have 12 is to dozen as 3 is to trio. Let's have another example. The word true is synonymous to the word correct. Likewise, happiness is synonymous to joy. The analogy is true is to correct as happiness is to joy. Last example for synonym word analogy. When you say start, it also means to begin. Also, when you say finish, it also means end. The analogy is begin is to start as end is to finish. We are now on the last type of word relationship, which is the opposite of synonyms. The last word analogy is antonyms. If synonym word relationship is comparing one thing and another through words that mean the same thing, antonyms, on the other hand, is comparing one thing and another through words that mean the opposite, like hot and cold, and day and night. In writing its analogy, we have hot is to cold as day is to night. Another example of words that mean the opposite is open and close and near and far. When you write its analogy, you have open is to close as near is to far. Last example of antonym word relationship. The antonym of soft is loud, whereas the antonym of slow is quick. So the analogy is soft is to loud as slow is to quick. Before we end this video, remember these 5 types of word relationships or analogy. Whole to part or part to whole, where a part of something is compared to the whole in a way similar to another part of something is compared to the whole. Item to category, where you compare things using an item and its category. Object to use, where you compare things using an item and its function. Synonyms, when you compare things using words that mean the same thing. And antonyms, where you compare things using words that mean the opposite. That's it for this video. I hope that you have learned how to use word analogies in determining relationships and meanings of words. See you on the next video.